If you'd like to talk about your own Bigfoot encounter, or if you're looking for help from a Bigfoot investigator in your area, email me at bigfootcrossroads@gmail.com. No Sasquatch were harmed in the recording of this podcast. This is Bigfoot Crossroads. I'm Matt. I am joined by my guest, Mike from Mississippi. If you subscribe and frequently listen to the podcast, you'll remember Mike from episode 33, I believe, where he shared an amazing and quite frankly terrifying encounter with a Sasquatch, one of the most amazing encounter stories I've ever heard. And Mike is joining me again because he's a hunter, and he recently went back out into the woods and had a very scary encounter, to say the least. We talked about it through Facebook Messenger. I could tell by what you were saying that you're still pretty shaken up about it. I think that a lot of that has to do with what you experienced in the past, but you certainly shared with me some telltale signs of Bigfoot activity going on. And it's just kind of strange. This past week, I was talking to a good friend of mine, Earl the Pearl, as we call him. And Earl was asking me if I had ever talked to anybody or ever heard about people kind of being tagged by these things after they have an encounter. And it kind of sounds like something you might have just experienced. Mike, why don't you go ahead and just kind of, walk us through what happened exactly?
Okay. Anyways, my encounter happened. It happened back in 2020, and it took me a lot of time to get the courage to go back out like I usually do. It took 2 years, and last year I tried it out a couple times, and whenever it would get dark, I just couldn't take it, man. I'd have to get out the tree and leave out of there with plenty of light left. I'm sure anybody that's had a encounter like that, they can relate with me. And after a couple times this year, I stayed after dark and everything was fine. Last month I went up middle of the state, me and my brother, didn't kill any deer, killed a couple wild hogs. Everything kind of got back to normal. Well, I say normal, but just pretty much just hanging in there,
as normal as it can be.
Yes, exactly. So we went to a spot in Mississippi. It's in Pearl River County. I need to kind of give your audience an idea, especially ones that are familiar with my story. My first encounter was in Leaf River. That is in Perry County, Mississippi. And I would say it's probably about a 300-mile shot. So I was hunting as usual, and I always get really, really high up in a tree. Real high up in a tree. Sometimes 40 foot. Most of the time I like to take it about 30 foot. I wear a safety harness and everything. If you fall from that height, you're dead. So I'm sitting there, and it's a normal evening. Nothing's coming my way. I'm not hearing any kind of game or anything like that. And it gets to be probably, let's see, it's getting dark. This was last week, last Wednesday. It's getting dark at probably at 6:20. So I want to put this at about 6:10, maybe. It's dark. I mean, the sun's already went down. It's over the trees. Actually, where I was at, I was in a bottom. So the bottom actually gets darker quicker because you're not up on high land. You're down in a bottom.
Right.
And, like I said, about 6:10, I start hearing things in the woods, and I'm not thinking Bigfoot. I'm not thinking any kind of cryptid or anything like that. I'm thinking, okay, got deer coming in, maybe, possibly. Could be raccoons. Could be anything. I hear a tree knock. And before my first encounter, I didn't know what a tree knock was. I thought it could have been some kind of big woodpecker or anything like that. But after my encounter, watching everything possible about Bigfoot, I know what a tree knock is now.
Right.
So I hear a tree knock. Doot, 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 doot. Okay. Don't make a big deal out of it. It sounded like it was probably about a good 100 yards in front of me. I'm in the woods. I can't see that. I'm not in any kind of terrain where you can see 100 yards in front of you. I hear dook, dook, dook. Okay. That's fine. Then I hear it behind me. Boom, boom, boom. Okay. You got my attention. I hear something that sounds like a whistle. It almost like a human whistle, like not like a whistle where somebody puts their hands in their mouth and just blows real loud. Just kind of, I wish I can, copy it, but I can't. But it sounded human, like somebody was in the woods with me. Not.
Was it like a single tone whistle, or?
It's kind of like, I can't. It's like, if that makes any sense.
Okay.
But not like a bird. It sounds like it definitely sounded like, I don't know, if there's two hunters in the woods.
Yeah.
And one's trying to whistle to the other one. Yeah, that's what it sounded like. And it didn't sound very far away. Not nearly as far as the tree knocks.
Now, are all these noises coming from down in the bottom?
Yes, it's coming out of the bottom.
Okay.
So I'm sitting there and, okay, what the hell was that? I hear it again in front of me. And as soon as that whistle was done with, I hear an answer behind me. But it sounded exactly the same. It sounded like the same person doing it, but somehow they morphed behind me. It was just crazy. So I started putting two and two together. I said, okay, I've seen enough of this Bigfoot stuff. I said, I know what this is. And even if I don't know what it is, I'm coming out the tree right now.
Right.
This is archery season. I got my crossbow with me. And I took my crossbow and I shot the arrow into the ground because, you can't run around the woods with a cocked bow. I shot the arrow into the ground. I jacked down the tree. I've got my 45 with me. It doesn't matter if it's archery season or whatever. I'm going to have a firearm no matter what. I got a license to carry. It doesn't matter. It's for my protection. And, I'm not using it to hunt with. Right.
It's pretty common for hunters during archery season even to carry a sidearm of some kind.
Yes. I always keep three. I keep one clip in the gun and I keep two extras in the bag, fully loaded at all times. I get down a tree, and as soon as I get down to the tree and my feet hit the bottom of you got to remember, this is a bottom. It's nothing but leaves. It's hadn't rained and God knows when. There's no way you can walk to that bottom and not make any noise. You're gonna crunch. You're gonna step on sticks. As soon as my feet come out of that stand and hit the bottom, the woods exploded. I'm talking about, I had stuff running in front of me, on the left and right of me, and behind me. And it all sounded heavy. And I'm talking about super heavy. Like It sounded like ox going through the woods.
And this is just all around you.
All around me.
And typically, let's just say an example. If you came down out of that tree stand,
yes,
you're a ways up there.
Yep.
It's going to take you a little bit to get to the ground. It's going to make some noise. You hitting the ground is going to make some noise.
Yes.
If you spooked a deer that's in the area, which I assumed would be like probably the largest mammal around.
Yes.
It's going to bound off away from you. It's going to beeline straight away from you.
Yes.
And it's not going to be a big, huge commotion all around you.
Right. Right. I'm puzzled. The woods is exploding and things are taking off. Things are breaking. It's just like, it really sounded like somebody had a herd of horses through there, and 4 horses took off north, south, east, and west. That's what it sounded like. Huge, heavy stuff. I have a problem thinking it was a deer, because anytime you make any kind of noise with a deer, I mean, coming down the tree, if there would have been deer sitting there and me coming down that tree, they would have blew me out and hauled ass.
Yeah.
But anyways, that's what happened. I'm in the bottom, and I get to, there's a main trail that comes into that bottom. And as soon as I got to that bottom, something screams. Kind of sounded like a little bit from my first encounter. Not quite as loud, but very loud. A little bit of ways from me. But it was like it happened so fast, man. And I pointed my gun in that direction, and I emptied my clip.
How far away would you guess the scream was?
Probably in the bushes. As the crow flies, probably 60 yards, 70 yards.
Okay, so pretty close.
Pretty close. So I catch the trail, and I'm coming up. I put another clip in my gun, and I'm walking up the trail. Got a crossbow over my shoulder. Remember that. I'm walking up the trail. I get probably about 200 yards. It's a big hill that I'm going up. A gigantic hill that's going up. I cross the top of that hill, and I hear something to my right that sounds like a heavy grunt, I want to say. Like I don't know. I can't place my finger on it. It just sounded like a loud grunt. Like I want to say almost like a hog, but deeper.
So nothing you had ever heard before?
Nothing I've ever heard before, and I've been around hogs all my life.
Okay.
It grunts, it takes off, and I'm like I said, I'm scared out of my mind. I start shooting again. Emptied my whole clip in that direction. I got my last clip in my book bag, put it in my gun. I'm walking out. I'm not quite as far away from my truck as I was in my first encounter.
Mm-hmm.
Probably half the distance. Probably a good 300 yards max. And I get, I have an app on my phone that I use for nighttime walking through the woods. No matter if you're on a trail or not, the woods looks the same. I always use the X app, because you can make when you're walking into an area, you can make a trail on that app, and it uses GPS, and you can follow your line out.
Right.
There's no way you can get lost. It's impossible. And that was it, man. I dumped my clip on whatever it was that grunted. I ran a little bit, but I didn't want to run and be crazy, because I wanted to be able to hear.
Mm-hmm.
I just kind of jog a little bit, walk fast, jog a little bit, walk fast. Not a full-fledged in terror run. Yeah, I got to my truck, and I'm like, man, I guess it happened again. But I wasn't sure about it. I think it was something that's worth mentioning.
Right. I mean, we talked about it. And like I said, you're a hunter. You've been hunting for a long time.
Yeah.
You know the rules about firing a firearm, especially in the woods, especially in the dark. I hope you didn't take it in our conversation that I was scolding you or anything like that.
No,
I just knew that if you had done that, you had to have been pretty shaken up by what was going on.
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
And to get to that point, that tells me, I say this to a lot of people. You know what you experienced. You were the one there going through it.
Yes.
So to get to that point, I'm sure you knew that whatever was happening wasn't anything normal.
Wasn't nothing normal. But still, without a visual, it's very hard to say what it was.
Right.
If I would have actually put my eyes on it and I seen, what I seen the first time, I can say, okay, I seen this with my own two eyes. I just think, I've been, I've hunted a little bit since my encounter, and I've always had nothing but positive. It took a long time to build the courage to go back out there.
Right.
But coming back and have something like this happen out of the blue, it's got all the signs, pretty much, the whistling, the tree knocks, things taken off in the woods that, sound like they weigh hundreds of pounds. I'm not sure what it was.
You talked a little bit about the scream, in comparison. Was it similar? Was it, I realize it wasn't as loud.
It kind of was, but I don't know. It was different. It was like the first one. It was, I really got to look at him scream. He would come from his gut and he would scream, and, his face would look all deformed when he did it.
Right.
But, I actually got to see it. This here was just like a quick roar, but it didn't sound like anything I've ever heard. It sounded deep. It was ear piercing a little bit, but it wasn't like, I don't know. It was like, it wasn't all drawn out crazy. It was like maybe even if it was a Bigfoot, he did it like real quick just to let me know he was there.
Just a quick burst.
Yep. Just a quick burst. That's all it was.
I have a good friend, Jonathan Dodd, who's an artist, amazing artist. He did the logo for the show. He's done a lot of work for me and a lot of other cryptid-related podcasts, Small Town Monsters. Just his resume is amazing. He's an amazing artist. And he was so moved by your description that he actually did a piece of artwork about a Bigfoot screaming with the distorted face and everything. And we actually spent some time, both he and I, looking at pictures of other primates, such as chimps and baboons and things like that, yawning and screaming. And we found that a lot of them actually, their faces kind of pull back and their gums and teeth extend out farther than their mouth, than the lips and everything around their mouth. And it really has like a distorted, caved in look to it, like you were talking about.
I'll never forget it, man. I'll never forget that. That's going to be burnt into my soul forever, seeing that. I mean, it was like crazy. It was like he come from his gut. He took a big, deep breath. And when he screamed, it was so weird, man. It was like just his whole face protruded to the front. It was almost like his face melted. If that makes any sense. Yeah. It's like it melted into just a big old pile of pot roast and then went back to normal.
That's just crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. But I mean, people talk about the screams all the time. Mm-hmm. People talk about the screams and how loud they are. And, you get some people that say they can hear them for, when one screams, you can hear them from 2 or 3 miles away. That's a long way.
Yeah.
They gotta have something going on to be able to do that. And after what I seen, but this little second thing that we're doing tonight, I do appreciate you letting me come on just to talk about it.
Yeah, of course.
It does help. And, I don't know what it was. I mean, I think it was something paranormal for sure. And I mean, I could be wrong about it, but I mean, all the clues were there.
Everything you're describing as a former Bigfoot researcher, whatever credence that holds, everything you're describing, I would attribute to Bigfoot behavior. If I were out in the field and I had experienced what you are describing, I would most likely think I had some Bigfoot activity going on at that point.
Yeah.
I want to get your take on something, though. You're saying, if I understood you correctly, this place that you're hunting at was about 300 miles from the other place.
Yeah, easily. If you take a map of Mississippi, okay, I live in Harrison County, all the way at the bottom of it. My first encounter was in Perry County. If you go up one county from Harrison, you got Stone County, and then the next county up is going to be Perry. The top right corner of Perry County is Leaf River Management Area. That's where I had my first encounter. Where I went the other day was Pearl River County. Pearl River County is a little bit closer to Louisiana. It's right on the Mississippi River. It's they call that the Delta, because you're on the Mississippi River. Yeah, it's give or take. I Google Earthed it the other day from my exact spot to the next spot. I did a read on Google Earth, and it was, I want to say it was 328 miles, something like that. Yeah.
So, like, if you're going into an area of Bigfoot sightings, a hot spot, if you want to call it that, and you're going out there enough and you're looking for Bigfoot, you could get lucky and have multiple encounters over a period of time.
Right.
This isn't that situation. Neither time were you looking for them, and
no.
And you weren't going to the same spot, even remote.
No.
So, I mean, what do you think is going on?
This is a spot that I've always known about. My brother hunts it a lot. It is public land. It is known for deer and wild hogs, but there is a lot down here in Mississippi, and I'm sure you got the same thing going on in Oklahoma. We have a wild hog problem.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay. There's no season on them. In other words, what I'm saying is you don't have to buy a license. It can be January the 1st, or it can be September the 1st. It doesn't matter.
Right. You
can, and there's no rules. Like, you could put bait out for them no matter what. I wasn't doing that. I was deer hunting, but the last couple weeks before my encounter, we was killing a lot of hogs in there because, we like to kill a few. We don't just kill them to kill them. We kill them for food. Right.
And the reason that there's an open season on wild hogs is because of the devastation that they're doing. They're horribly overpopulating. They're going into areas they're not supposed to be. They're an invasive species at this point.
And it still does not even curb the problem.
Yeah.
It's that bad. But anyways, getting back to the story, I was deer hunting. I knew I had hogs in the vicinity, but we got trail cams out. We got the cell cams where, you go put something out and you can go back home, and whatever walks in front of your camera, it snaps a picture and it sends it to your cell phone. And I had some decent deer coming in there. I got to work and stuff. I can't do it every day, but I had some decent deer coming in at this particular time, and this, that, and the other, and I went and hunted it. 2 weeks before, I wasn't in the same spot, but I was in the vicinity of the place. I was within a half a mile from there, and me and my brother went in there deer hunting. We killed a couple pigs, like I said, but didn't have any luck with any kind of deer in there. I mean, we see deer like does and stuff, but we only shoot bucks.
So do you just think this was just lightning striking twice, or do you think there's something more to it that we don't understand?
It's hard to say what it is. I want to say I got lucky again, But the more that I watch stuff and hear other people talk, people that's in the Bigfoot field, I've actually heard, once you've had an encounter, and, there's a good possibility something's going to happen to you again because they have you pegged.
I wonder if it's that, or, that's the thing. There's nothing black and white in this subject or any subject like this. There's numerous possibilities, and even more so whenever you start taking into account that we don't know hardly anything to begin with. However, I'm wondering if it's a situation where whenever you do have an encounter and you now have the knowledge that these things are out there, that you start noticing things that before you would have just ignored and blown off, like the wood knocks being just a woodpecker or somebody out in the woods somewhere.
That, man, I can get up a tree pretty much because I've been doing it my whole life. And I can tell the difference between a woodpecker. A woodpecker is real distinct. Mm-hmm. It's, when they hit a tree, it's rapid. It's
right.
It's, when it's a woodpecker, but when it sounds like somebody is taking a sleeping bag full of ribeyes and pounding it up against a tree, that's different.
Right.
But it wasn't like boom, boom. It was like boom, 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 boom. It was like that.
And then something answered back from the other side
straight on the side of me.
Huh.
Same thing happened again. And I still, I didn't want to jump to conclusions, Of course, anytime I walk in the woods, my head's going to be on a swivel.
Right.
For the rest of my life. But, I still didn't put two and, I wasn't quite there on Bigfoot, I just stayed there and listened, and then the whistling started. And when I heard the whistle, I was like, oh, okay. And then I hear an answer back behind me, and I'm like, I'm coming down. I'm not doing this again. And when I got down, I was probably 30 foot up. I always get high enough to wear a safety harness. Once I put my feet on the bottom of that bottom floor, man, it exploded in there.
Whenever the one screamed and you fired off at it, that was the first time you fired, correct?
Yes. That was when I was coming out of the bottom and I finally got to the main trail. Yes.
Was it in front of you?
It was like right on the, say I had to come out of the bottom and I had, the main trail was south to get out. Mm-hmm. As soon as I made that corner, it was like right to the right of me, but okay. Probably about 50 yards in the woods, but it was real quick.
And after you had emptied your clip.
Yes.
Did you hear anything else? Was there any kind of movement or anything?
Dead silent, because I had enough time when I emptied the clip to take my book bag off, unzip it, and put my other clip in. And the whole time, I didn't hear anything run off. No, I was listening. Didn't hear anything run off, didn't hear anything. So I start going up the trail, going south, and it's a big hill. Because, and I got to explain, I keep going into detail, but I have to explain it.
No, it's fine. It's fine. People appreciate it.
Yeah. In Mississippi, we have a little bit of highland. When I say highland, we're not talking about highland like out west.
Right.
But they have Mississippi's nothing, especially in the South Mississippi, it's nothing but pine trees. But when you get into bottoms, or some people might call them hollers, we call them bottoms down here. There's no, but and there's gum trees, oak trees. It's a good spot to hunt because there's a lot of food in the bottoms, as long as it hasn't been raining and there's no water down there. But anyways, I was going up the hill, and when you're coming out of any bottom, you're gonna be climbing a hill because the bottom is low. Right. I crested a hill, and same thing, straight to the right of me. I heard a grunt, like God, I wish I can do it, man. It was like I want to say it kind of sounded like a hog, but it was much deeper and, it gurgled a little bit. And when it did that, it kind of walked, and it sounded very extremely heavy though. I don't know what it was, but it scared me enough to empty my clip again.
Was the movement slow or quick whenever it took off walking?
Just like a normal walk, but I didn't have enough time to think, is this bipedal or is this something on all fours? I wasn't doing all that.
Could you tell if it was moving away from you or towards you?
It's moving away from me.
Okay.
To the right again now. So I emptied the clip again. I'm out of ammo, and I knew I had one clip left. I popped the clip out, put my last one in. My clip holds 12. And I started fast walking at first because I remembered from the first encounter that I had to, I was scared. I was running down the power lines. We all know this story. I wanted to hear whatever it was because I didn't want I didn't want to be making too much noise running and being silly and have something, ambush me. So it was a fast walk and then just a normal walk and a fast walk and a normal walk with just my ears open. And I come out the trail and I come out on the dirt road. I seen my truck and I got in there. I didn't, last time, I was fishtailing down the road, all that. I didn't do that this time. I just kind of gathered my thoughts. I didn't really know what it was. I put the key in and cranked it and left, but I wasn't hauling ass or anything like that. I was just pretty much thinking to myself, did it happen again? Or am I just crazy?
I don't think you're crazy. I don't think you're crazy at all. And I certainly don't really blame you for firing off your firearm towards the sounds.
Probably not the most responsible thing.
Yeah, absolutely. As a gun owner, no, of course, you're not supposed to do that.
Yeah.
However, if you're listening to this and shaking your head, put yourself in his shoes for a moment. How would you have reacted? What would you have done? And keep in mind, if you haven't heard episode 33 and heard Mike's story, go listen to it. And it might enlighten you a bit as to why he reacted this way without actually seeing a Bigfoot.
Imagine you are in a hunting spot and you can pull it up on Google Earth. It's one road that comes to a dead end, 8 to 9 miles in from anything. Okay. And you get on Google Earth and you look at your vicinity around the area and you have nothing in that area for 10 miles. It's just nothing but desolate woods. Why would, there's always, anytime that I go hunting and I get down at the end of a road, I always drive around a little bit and look and see if I have, I've always done this. I always look to see if I have another hunter on top of me, another vehicle and there was nothing, just nothing. We're talking about a spot where if you got lost, there's one road in and just one road. It leads in and out of this area. Okay. If you get turned around in this place, there is a very good chance you're going to be out there all night, maybe most of the next day, maybe more.
Had you and your brother seen signs of other people hunting there previously?
Not previously.
It's very common, especially for deer hunters, to try and hunt in places where other hunters aren't going.
Oh yeah. They'll jump. We call that grave jumping here. Yeah. No, this spot here is, it's public, but it's so out of the way of everything. It's so out of the way of everything that I don't think that people's going to want to mess with it too much. And I could be wrong.
There might be a reason, why people aren't going there, because they have gone there and experienced things.
Yeah, could be. Could very well be. I just think it's super weird that I can have that happen, and then 2 years later, same state, couple counties over, just out of the blue, here we go again.
There's a location in Texas where myself, one of my best friends from high school, Roddy, if you've listened to my show from back in the day, you've probably heard Roddy. You probably heard me talk about Roddy. You probably heard other people talk about Roddy. He did not believe in Bigfoot. He went with me because he thought I was hanging out with crazy people, and he ended up coming home, not a believer, but a knower.
Yeah, and there's definitely a difference.
Yeah, and that location that we stumbled upon, and I say stumbled upon because it was he and I, we were going down there for a Bigfoot conference, actually, and we just happened to see this dirt road going off into a river bottom. And thought, hey, we should come back there tonight and check it out. So that's how we ended up there.
Did you get anything?
We did. 4 of us saw one, and it was one of the craziest nights I've had in my life.
Really?
That same location, and whenever I say same location, I mean the exact same location. I know of at least 2 other people, multiple years apart, that have had encounters at that same exact spot. And then I talked with another guy who was deer hunting and had an encounter there in the 1980s, a couple decades before I was ever down there.
Really?
So it's funny how you never hear anything about certain areas, but then once you kind of pick that scab a little bit, it starts bleeding. You find out all kinds of things. You start getting all kinds of stories from the area. So I'm curious if you might have just inadvertently stumbled into one of those areas where, there's some known activity going on there.
It very well could be. I've got now, I kind of got 2 different theories. Maybe what you just said is exactly right, or maybe I'm marked. Maybe
you are. Like I said at the beginning.
The thing is we don't know.
Right.
We don't know 100% of their capabilities. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you've got claims that, run the spectrum of
right.
people telling stories about what they experienced. You've got staunch believers in these things are strictly flesh and blood, just an undiscovered animal. You've got people that believe there's something else. They're paranormal. They're supernatural.
I think they're both. I can tell you this just from observation. The one that I had, the one that gave me the privilege of giving me that long of an experience.
Sure. Okay. We can call it that. Yeah.
I can tell you this. I didn't see any cloaking or nothing like that. But I can tell you this, the way the thing moved, especially, I'm talking first encounter now. When that thing came to me, he was probably 160 yards out, 150, give or take, that's a football field and a half. When I gave that thing my position, that thing looked at me and walked towards me, and it took him no time. It was it didn't even look real the way he was walking. It looked like, he was on snow skis. He didn't have snow skis on, but, the way he was moving his hands and stuff, the way his legs were moving, it was like he was gliding almost. It took him no time. No time.
I just recently talked to a man. I plan on having him on the show in the future. I just started talking to him a couple of days ago, and he sent me his account, and he made specific mention of the hair movement, how it was flowing whenever the thing moved, how it wasn't like anything he had ever seen before. The hair, it just didn't seem like the hair was acting the way it should as it was moving.
Yeah.
And the head, even though he was seeing this thing's entire body move, the head stayed on a parallel line, not going up or down at all. Yeah.
And that could have been very well what happened to me, but I wasn't really paying attention to that. I just said, I got this thing coming towards me. What am I going to do next?
He also made mention of the hair color, which a lot of people have described these things having different colored hair, not necessarily uniform. And the hair color being different, they describe it depends on how the light's hitting it. And he said the same thing, that the hair color seemed to change as it was moving and flowing.
Really?
And all of those things can cause problems with our eyesight, I would imagine. And there's so many questions about these things, man.
Oh, there's
so many questions.
So many questions. And you know what, Matt, we'll never know everything. The one I encountered from, he had dark brown hair. Mm-hmm. The one I seen, same color as an ape. Mm-hmm. Same color. Hair wasn't like an ape though. The only thing that I can say that was like an ape on him, I would have to say, would be the hair on top of his head, because it was short and spiky. Yeah. The rest, no. It was hair. It was hair.
Right.
Especially on his back. The hair on his back was, I think that's where it was the thickest, on his back. But it was weird because when I was like looking at him through the scope, you could, because it was hair and not hide, you can make through his hair and you can see the gray skin. Mm-hmm. It was an ashy gray. And his forearms too. He had a lot of hair on his forearms. I remember that. His forearms are just huge. It never gets old for me to tell that, Never gets old.
Here we are in early November. You were out there. It's archery season.
Yeah.
There's a lot of hunting time left. Do you have plans of going back out there this season?
I don't think so. I think, the situation would have to be, I'm on the side of somebody's house where the house is visible. We're in a shooting house and I got somebody with me. Mm-hmm. That it would have to be something kindergarten like that. I'm never, ever, I should have never done it to begin with, but I think maybe this was God telling me something.
Well, I'm a firm believer of getting back on the horse. However, I don't run across a lot of people that have a story like yours.
Right.
And being out there by yourself, way up a tree like that, I mean.
Well, my brother, I hate to bring this up, but my brother, Kerry Arnold, that just passed away, told me after my first encounter, it was the year after, and me and him always stayed on the phone. I mean, I got close to the guy. I got really close to him. And I was going hunting the next year, and he used to call me up and said, "Are you insane? Are you nuts after what happened to you? Or you going by yourself?" And I'm like, "Well, yeah, I'll have a gun with me." He's like, he said, "What did that teach you?" He says, I hadn't been in the woods for over 12 years. He says, I'm 6'3" guy, almost 300 pounds, and I'm not going back in the woods. I mean, it just affects people different,
Yeah. I mean, there's people who surf that get attacked by sharks and never go back in the water. And then
that's right.
Other people that are back in the water as soon as they can.
Yeah. Limbless. Yeah, I've seen it.
I mean, I think it's up to the individual, and I don't think anybody would knock you for not going back out there by yourself or put yourself in that situation.
I think what it was with me before what happened the other day, I think what it was, okay, this happened to me, but my passion, what I love to do, I'm not going to let that take it away from me. Mm-hmm. And if I was to go back this is what I'm dealing with. If I was to go back next year or 2 years from now, I'm never going to be comfortable anymore. I'm not going to be, I'm not going to be like I used to be, like one with nature, I'm always going to be wondering, even the smallest little noise now, what was that?
And that's no way to be if you're out there hunting.
Yeah.
That's dangerous.
Yeah. What was that? What, something banged on a tree again? Oh, what was that? Oh, it's something like that. It's hard to say what you're going to do, but I think that pretty much shut my hunting season down for the year for sure. I'm going to have to, I hunt and I fish. So I'm going to have to stick to fishing for a while.
I had to remind myself that whenever I had my first sighting, the mental struggle to deal with it and everything, it was important for me to remind myself that they didn't just appear in front of me that night. They have been here this whole time. And all the times that I was out in the woods by myself as a kid, they could have been around and me not even know it.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. I've had that same thought. I've even last year when I hunted, and this year, the first day of the season, I've always wondered, after my encounter, how many times have I been walking to my tree or even just scouting? We do a lot of scouting too,
Mm-hmm.
Try to find a spot where, looks like there's, how many times have I just been scouting with somebody with me, and then there's just one sitting there saying, look at these two dumbasses. What are they doing?
I mean, it's kind of mind blowing whenever you really think about it.
Yes. Because, it's what they are, man. I mean, in order for them to exist and, skate by so much without being detected. I mean, yeah, there's plenty of videos out there, they're an animal. They're going to slip up. But
But this isn't videos. This isn't a story on the internet.
Right.
Or a TV show. This is your life. This is something that you experience personally.
Yeah. So
you have to determine your own course, your own future, your own path,
Yeah. I seen a map the other day. I don't know if you might have seen this same map. It's encounter map of the United States. Have you seen one?
Yeah. Yeah. There's actually a thing called the Bigfoot Mapping Project going on
Yes.
the website. It's amazing. Lots and lots of data constantly being updated, and looking at it.
Yeah.
Kind of mind numbing.
It really is. And I'm going to tell you why, because people that are not on board with Bigfoot are people that believe, but they only believe like they're out north, we're Northwest and all that. If you look at a Bigfoot sighting map, look at Florida. Oh my God. Look, even my state has a lot.
Yeah.
And, if you look at the map and you see all, the thickness of the Sasquatches and everything, there's more. It looks like there's more down in the Southeast than there is in the Northwest. I would have never thought that.
There's a lot more forest in the Northwest.
Yeah.
Size-wise, land cover.
Yeah.
I've explained it to people time and time again. The Pacific Northwest, I mean, come on, that's the Mecca of Sasquatch. I get it. However, you're looking in a really big haystack for that needle. And our haystacks down here are a lot smaller.
There's places in the Northwest where I believe it's so vast that I think there's places where no man has ever stepped before.
Oh, yeah, for sure. For sure.
Without a doubt.
And then whenever you start talking about Alaska, which in my opinion is prime territory for these things, they're all around it. Yeah.
You're talking about basically a continent that we bought from Russia.
Yeah. We haven't even scratched the surface of Alaska.
And it's so cold, it's so cold and the terrain there and stuff is so rough. I mean, yeah.
Well, Mike, I appreciate you coming on and sharing this with me, man.
Oh, no problem, man.
I'm sorry that you went out there and this happened to you. I mean,
yeah, I mean, I wouldn't have brought it to your attention unless, you know.
No, of course. And I appreciate it. I mean, that's what I'm here for. I'm interested to see what the future holds for you. I'm in your corner, man. I'm rooting for you.
Oh, man, I appreciate it.
If you've had an encounter that you want to share, email me at bigfootcrossroads@gmail.com. Check out the website, bigfootcrossroads.com. You can find links to all the social media, episodes of the show, and all the contact information. Until next time, remember, there's something in the woods.